What's up, everybody? I wanted to do a follow-up video now that I have a fair amount of gameplay in UFL post-patch number 3. So, not to harp on all the negatives, but we can't just say that this fixed everything. I'm seeing some of those posts out there, and that is not a good route to take because I promise you UFL is listening. They absolutely are a development team that is trying to please the player base. So, it's not like EA Sports who totally ignore their player base, which is not a good direction to go either. But I do believe that UFL needs to be a little more decisive on what they want. However, as a player base, we do need to make the biggest issues loud so they do at least fix those. That combined with if they get a little more putting their foot down with decisions that, take the game in the direction that they want to see it to because they did a great job creating the game in the first place, then I think we're in a great spot. Some of the problem is I think they're trying too much to please everybody, and that is something that Nanik had mentioned, and I 100% agree with him. It is a game that is very good in some areas, but in others where it struggles, you could see kind of where they kind of put themselves in the middle between like casual players and hardcore players, and what you get is either side being pleased. So, with that being said, as you watch some of the highlights from my post-patch gameplay, the passing, it's better, but it still needs a ton of work. The through ball is the most used pass in football gaming and is absolutely broken. One through ball will be brilliant, and you're going, wow, they fixed it. But then the next through ball, you're scratching your head going, how in the heck did that ball travel all that distance when I barely tapped the button? Or why did it go in that direction when I was facing this direction? Not to mention when you were getting into passing sequences, sometimes the ball has a mind of its own, or your player has a mind of his own as far as where he is passing the ball. You will point directly at a player and somehow it goes 10 yards to the left or right of that player. They need to really, really, really address passing, make it a priority because it is the foundation of any football game. The shooting, I am happy with the shooting. The goalkeepers, right now, I'm happy with the goalkeepers. Some believe they are still overpowered, and yes, maybe they could be tweaked and nerfed down a little bit more, but I haven't had nearly the problems I had before where it didn't matter how many shots I got, the goalie would save them all, and then it would lead to maybe the opponent getting one or two shots, and if he got lucky and scored, it would be a stat line somewhere around 70% to 30%, one shot on goal to 10 shots on goal, and he would get that, let's say, one corner kick shot in the 76th minute and win the game 1-0 after you just dominated the entire game. Obviously, that's the kind of thing that needs to be fixed because these football games, you need to be rewarded for being the more skilled player. And I do believe this patch went in that direction, but there's still a lot more. With the first and foremost thing they need to focus on, the passing. The second thing, or maybe even tied for first, is there are still some of the bugs, this disconnect thing going on, which we have some cases that look like it was cheating. Others, we know it was a server. We had a big example yesterday, actually, where a very close friend of mine from the channel, a fan of the channel, we matched up. He's a very good player, and the game disconnected with, I was actually losing this time on stream, and I know for a fact there was no disconnect glitch going there. There's no reason for this player to disconnect, and so that showed it was absolutely a server issue, but maybe players are taking advantage of it too in some cases. We don't know, but it has taken away so many wins from me. Now, it could also be tied to the fact that I save my content, right, by pressing the start button, hitting save recent gameplay. That could tie into that. Myself in my chat came to that conclusion because that is a common denominator. But either way, that has to be fixed because the game should not be disconnecting, giving losses, kicking you out over and over and over if you're just trying to use a function to save your highlights. I mean, that's a big part of how content creators and just people in general save some of the best plays and then share them with everyone. So it needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed. Not sure if that is the exact issue, but now, after yesterday, knowing that the player I was playing against didn't disconnect, it does put a different kind of outlook on what the issue may be. So, that's out of gameplay, though. Focusing back on gameplay, aside from the passing, right? Aside from maybe some people want to see the goalies nerfed a little bit, the corner kicks, they need to continue to work on that because now it's absolutely ridiculous. You have to go short. They've essentially made both corner kicks and crosses pretty irrelevant. Now, I'm not saying you can't score them, but it's very, very unrealistic. So they've went to extreme with attackers winning every head ball, and then to an extreme with defenders winning every head ball. There's no doubt that they can work on coming to a middle ground, similar to what you see over in FC right now, where you can score your fair share of corners and crosses and stuff, but there's going to be a fair share where the defenders win the ball. You just have to find that right formula, and that makes it more true to football and realistic. It shouldn't be where you're taking players out of the box and making it height some kind of factor in who wins crosses and corners and whatnot. So they need to work on that too. But I also have had fun playing the game lately, which was not the case for a long time. And a big reason is because the defensive capabilities, it feels more responsive, but they still need to work on that too. So they're in the right direction, but the snap shooting, the first time shots, all those kind of skill-based things where players get boosts skill-wise, it seems like an animation or something triggers where the defenders freeze up. The defenders need to be continuously fluid. They need to be constantly able to react and block shots. It makes it too sort of, it takes away the fluidity of the game. That's why you see many times the attackers cut, and it makes no sense because it's not football. But it's a very effective way to attack because the defenders aren't fluid. So you cut until the defender overcommits one way or the other. Then you find a pass or dribble by them. Same with the shooting. You cut, take a shot, you get the snapshot as well. Defenders can't even move and block it. So you could have the skill to predict what's going to come and then try to move your defender to block a shot, like many times happens in FC, which is why a skilled player in FC always does what? If you play FC, you take the extra pass because that shot block option is there. The shot block option is not there. It needs to be a skill added because it's an important part of defending in any football game, right? The same with just general defense. The meta can't be cut with any player you have. Find a pass. Cut. No player gets the ball and just cuts left and right, 10, 20, 30, however many times, and just does that over and over until they try to create a opening. And why it's so prevalent now as opposed to the past is because in the release of the game, they had great spacing with their defense, which is another thing that it looks like they improved slightly. Like, I definitely am finding more openings to actually use build-up and create scoring opportunities. But there still are those players that, if they choose to, can just load so many players in the box that they don't get punished. Now, some players say, hey, it's just like park the bus. It's a tactic. Deal with it. But we heard that for years over in FC, and look what ultimately came from that. The game was destroyed, and that's because in video games, there's certain things that work and there's certain things that don't. And rewarding a no-skill player, right? No skill defensively, no skill attack, for just sitting with so many players in the way that no matter how good you are, you can't get through, right? And then trying to just get that one shot, it doesn't work for football gaming. You have to reward the skilled players that are dominating the game, because the only reason they're dominating and not scoring isn't because they're not good enough. It's because you can't shoot through 6, 8 defenders that are just standing there with one player trying to run around and hassle you while 7 AI defenders just get in the way of your shooting or dribbling lanes. So they absolutely still have to work on the spacing. Keep going towards your original release. I get it. Casual players did not like it because it was very hard to defend at the beginning. But you can't go the route you're going where you can just essentially not have any defensive skill and still maybe get a shutout at the end of the game just because of the AI. We saw a prime example. There's precedents for failure with this at FC, so do not go that route. Other than that, obviously we could go on for days because it's a new game. There's going to be things to work on. However, for the most part, those are the main things that they need to focus on. You don't want to put too much on your plate, and that goes for anything in life. and that includes the development team with the UFL. If they try to address too many things at once in the game, out of the game, rewards, modes, this, that, if they try to address too many things at once, they're just going to crash the game because they won't be putting enough effort into any one thing. They'll be too spread thin, right? Not to mention, we have to get to the game to the point where, okay, there's some glitches in there, but it's at least fun to play. Like right now, it's fun to play. If they could focus a little bit on those things, great. But they also have to start making their game a deeper game. We cannot keep having just divisions, no rewards for Premier League. Once you get into Premier League, you're just sitting there, 70 something days left in the season, and just feeling like there's nothing. Yes, the new season pass is coming. That is fantastic. But the development team needs to start looking at modes, right? Needs to start looking at more depth in the players, right? There's not even there needs to be countries added. There needs to be more details. You don't even have some of the players like full names. It's just there's so many things that need to be worked on to make the game deeper and better and more immersive. So if all we do is keep finding things that they need to work on that are broken or not good enough, or go this route with the defense or go that route, we're never going to get a deeper game. So it's got to be kind of a compromise. That's why I've been so passionate about where I stand, because these things are possible. They just have to make the right choices and hopefully learn from the mistakes that FC made over the years, right? And try to, if they see FC went down a path and it failed, do not go down that path. Unfortunately, in some instances, it seems like they did the same exact thing as FC, knowing that, you could see from looking at history where FC went when they made certain decisions, such as the defense in the more AI-oriented route. So, with that being said, we're in a better place. We finally have a patch where I can say the game's not worse after the patch. Pre-patch, again, any patch was still the most fun I've had. As new as the game is and as recent as it was, it feels like ages ago that was released. But there was this certain innocence about it, man. It was just pure fun, and you knew it wasn't the greatest game. You knew that it didn't have all the bells and whistles and wasn't nearly as fluid as FC, but it was still so much fun to play, and that's what made me buy in so hard, because of the potential from that version of the game. Now, this one, am I fully behind right now? No. Am I even coming close anymore to comparing it to FC? No. I may talk about some things where they can learn from FC or go in that direction, but they are not in the same weight class by any means. So just comparing UFL to UFL, it's in a better spot now after this patch than it was, but there's still work to be done. So let's root for the development team. Let's keep having fun with the game. Keep grinding it out. I know that I'm having a blast with my new team, and I'm going to keep grinding on. So you keep grinding on as well. You keep having fun, and peace out.